Hello and welcome back to Koala Moon, children's bedtime stories and meditations designed to make bedtime a dream. This is Koko and Kira in the Enchanted Garden by Alicia Ainsley. One delightfully sunny day in Sleepy Forest, Koko Koala and his little sister, Kira the Panda, were walking home from school when they noticed something they hadn't noticed before. Rather extraordinarily, a mysterious garden had appeared in the middle of Sleepy Forest. It was a large, colourful garden, bursting with carefully planted flowers and trees, surrounded by a white picket fence. There was no house nearby, so it was unclear who the garden belonged to. But whoever it was, they perhaps owned the most extravagant garden in the entire forest. Koko and Kira approached the white picket fence and peered over for a closer look. Everything in the garden appeared to sparkle in the sun. The flowers glittered. The grass shone. The paving stones glistened and the trees twinkled. It seemed as though everything was tinged with a little magic. "This is the prettiest garden I've ever seen," whispered Kira. The curious siblings wondered how they had never come across it before. Koko and Kira were so fixated on the mesmerizing beauty of the garden that they didn't notice a figure trotting over to them until they heard a friendly voice say, "Good afternoon, you two. How are you today?" Koko and Kira hopped back from the white picket fence. To their happy surprise, the familiar voice belonged to Fenella, the tiny unicorn. Her rainbow-swirled horn and her long silver hair shimmered with a luminous sheen. "Good morning, Fenella," Koko greeted her cheerfully. "You made us jump a little. We were so busy admiring this amazing garden that we didn't notice you approaching." Fenella's face lit up with a smile. "Do you like it?" she asked. Kira grinned and replied, "Oh yes, we've just discovered it. We've never seen it before, but it is absolutely beautiful." Koko added, "Whoever owns this garden must be very proud." Fenella, the tiny unicorn, giggled and flicked her silky hair over her shoulder. She responded, "Oh yes, the person who owns this garden is very proud. That person is me." Koko and Kira gasped in awe. "You own this incredible garden?" Kira repeated. "You must spend all day, every day here to keep it growing so nicely." Fenella admitted that she did visit her garden regularly, but the upkeep wasn't quite as demanding as they probably assumed. Some of the dazzling plants in this garden were enchanted, so they mostly cared for themselves. The idea of an enchanted garden blew away Koko and Kira. They wanted to know more. "Do you need any gardening help?" Koko offered. "We'd be happy to lend you a hand. That is, if you need one." Fenella considered their offer. She had already carried out most of her gardening duties for the day, so there wasn't much left to do. But seeing the eager looks on Koko and Kira's faces, she could tell that they wanted to explore. With a smile, Fenella nudged open the gate in the fence and offered for them to step inside. Koko and Kira raced through the gate into the enchanted garden. Their little feet dashed out onto the softest, spongiest, brightest green grass they'd ever seen. Every step felt like a massage. Koko and Kira couldn't help but giggle. Mid-step, Koko paused and asked Fenella, "Wait a second. This grass isn't enchanted, is it?" Fenella chuckled and answered, No, the grass isn't enchanted. Kira responded, Oh, good, before flopping down onto the grass and rolling around in it happily. This grass feels amazing. Fenella and Koko laughed at Kira rolling around in the soft grass. She was right, it did feel wonderful, like the softest mattress Kira had ever laid down on. Koko wandered further into the garden. Fenella had truly done a marvellous job. He could understand why she usually kept this place to herself. It was luxuriously tranquil and quiet with nobody else around. In the garden, Koko couldn't hear a thing except the gentle breeze blowing past his round, furry ears. Koko stepped onto the garden path. The path was made up of white marble paving stones, but they were so much more than he realized. Every time Koko stepped on a stone, it glowed yellow and emitted a musical note. The garden path played music as he walked along it. Koko grinned and called, Kira, this garden path is made of magic. Look! Kira sat up in the grass and watched Koko hopping along the path, playing music with his feet. She wanted to join in too, so she ran over and jumped on the garden path by Koko's side. It's like a giant piano, Kira observed, treading on a few stones and playing a chord. Yes, but so much better, Koko tacked on. Together, Koko and Kira followed the path through Fenella's garden, hopping from stone to stone and playing joyful melodies along the way. They passed radiant, colourful flower beds that smelt of the most heavenly sweet fragrances. They crossed a narrow, babbling brook, jumping from stepping stone to stepping stone. They spotted cleverly carved stone statues perched between shrubs and bushes. There were pretty blossom trees and a giant oak that stood proudly at the end of the path. Every detail of Fenella's garden was perfect. Once they reached the end of the path, below the giant branches of the towering oak tree, Koko and Kira decided to rest for a moment. They sat down with their backs against the bumpy tree trunk and gazed out across the garden. Fenella was currently tending to a flower bush and looked perfectly content. This place is wonderful, Kira sighed dreamily. I wish this was our garden. Koko suggested. Maybe we should have a go at growing our own garden. I'm sure that our parents will have some seeds in a cupboard somewhere. We could grow our own vegetable patch. All of a sudden, a voice that they didn't recognize interrupted their daydream. A slow, deep, gentle voice rumbled from behind them. That sounds like a nice idea, the voice said. I recommend starting with radishes. Radishes grow quickly, so you'll see the fruits of your labour fast. And there's nothing more motivating than seeing your hard work come to fruition. Koko and Kira got back to their feet and stared at the oak tree. They hadn't noticed before, but now they could see clearly that there was an old, wrinkly face moulded into the bark. The face had large, wise eyes, a bulbous nose, and a wide, smiling mouth. Koko smiled in return and responded to the talking tree. I was thinking more that we could grow pumpkins or giant broccoli. The talking oak tree hummed and replied, Yes, Those are good ideas, too. You could grow anything you like. Kira was bewildered by the fact they were talking to a tree. I didn't know that trees could talk, she gasped. The talking oak smiled and commented, Some of us can. All trees have souls, but only some of us have mouths. Fenella plodded over and greeted the talking tree like an old friend. Fenella explained that this oak was over 500 years old and therefore was very wise. She had met the wise tree months ago whilst assisting one of her tiny friends, Callie Caterpillar, who lived in a neighbouring tree. Fenella and the wise oak had gotten talking and she had told it all about the enchanted garden she was growing. Longing for a restful retirement, the talking oak had asked if it could move into her garden. Of course, Fenella was very happy to oblige. It worked out for both of them. Now she had a spectacularly giant tree in her garden, and the oak could enjoy retirement in peace. Koko and Kira were impressed. You are 500 years old? Kira repeated in awe. What is the best thing you've seen in 500 years? The talking oak contemplated Kira's question. With 500 years' worth of memories to rifle through, its answer could have taken a while. But after only a few moments, the wise oak responded, It would be impossible for me to narrow down everything I've experienced into one special moment. However, there is something that I have never tired of in all my years, and that is watching the magic of metamorphosis unfold. In the tree beside where I planted my roots for many, many years, caterpillars would come year in and year out to weave their cocoons and sleep. During those restful months, I saw nothing of them until, finally, they would awaken and burst from their cocoons as butterflies. Seeing the transformed caterpillars fly out of the other tree with their colourful wings and into the sky was always a spectacular sight. I have never once taken that miraculous sight for granted. Koko and Kira smiled at the image the talking oak had painted in their mind of the beautiful butterflies fluttering out of the tree like blossom petals blowing in the wind. They could understand why the wise oak would have loved watching that scene year after year. Koko and Kira wished the wise talking oak tree a happy retirement and strolled into another area of the garden with Fenella. The proud unicorn fondly pointed out all of the beautiful plants she had grown and nurtured. There was a glorious bed of purple whimsy flowers that make you giggle if you sniff them, and a dockleaf bush that soothes any sting or bites with its healing sap. Fenella identified a tall, thick stem with about 20 pink buds up its sides waiting to unfurl. She said that this was a smarty plant, which makes you extra intelligent if you chew on one of its petals. The smarty plant still had a way to grow, but once it bloomed, it would be a spectacular vision in the garden. Fenella also directed Koko and Kira's attention to a bed of spiky blue vervain flowers that, when put under your pillow, allow you to fall into a deep, undisturbed sleep. It seemed that Fenella had grown flowers for practically every occasion. Next, she led Koko and Kira past a bed of multicolored flowers with long, rounded petals in all the primary colors, red, yellow, and blue. "These flowers are my favorite. They always brighten up my day," Fenella confessed. Then, one of the scarlet red flowers added with a smirk, "And that's not just on account of our cheerfully bright colors." Koko and Kira laughed with delight at the fact the flower had spoken, but they weren't surprised. By now, they expected everything to talk in Fenella's Enchanted Garden. "They seem very nice," Koko complimented the flowers. "But why are these flowers in particular your favorite?" Fenella grinned and explained that these flowers loved to tell jokes. Every time she visited, the flowers would have a fresh batch of jokes to tell her. "Oh, I love jokes," Kira said excitedly. "Please, can we hear one?" The flowers all turned their heads away and whispered amongst themselves. After a few seconds, they turned back to face Koko, Kira, and Fenella. "All right then," a butty yellow flower agreed. "Why is a flower like the letter A?" There was a pause. "Because a bee goes after it." The bed of flowers fell into a fit of giggles, and Koko, Kira, and Fenella all laughed too. "Please, could we have another?" Koko asked. A sky blue flower was happy to oblige. "What do you call a clumsy flower?" the blue bloom recited. "A whoopsie-daisy." Yet again, everybody laughed. Fenella was right. The flowers were sure to put a smile on your face. Then a ruby red flower threw in a third joke. The flower giggled. "How do sunflowers stay so positive? They always look on the sunny side." Everybody's laughter was so contagious that flowers, plants, and trees all around the garden started to chuckle along with them. "That's very good," a nearby cherry tree chortled, getting in on the action. Making a joke of his own, Koko tittered. "I don't know about you, but I think these jokes are going from bad to worse." Kira clutched her sides as she laughed. "You made our daisy," she joked. The bed of joke-telling flowers bowed their heads as if they were graciously accepting applause from an audience. Fenella whispered to Koko and Kira, "I told you, they always brighten up my day." Kira was starting to wonder if every plant and tree here spoke. She dashed over to another tree and called out, "Hello, do you talk too?" However, she was met with silence. It didn't appear that this tree was quite as chatty as the wise oak, the chortling cherry tree, or the joke-telling flowers. However, what it lacked in speech, it made up for in its intriguing appearance. Kira gazed up at the unusual tree in front of her and inspected it closer. Hanging from the branches were fruits of every colour of the rainbow, perhaps even more colours than there were in the rainbow. There were brown fruits and turquoise fruits, violet and red, yellow and neon green, not to mention black and silver. It was a very strange-looking fruit tree. Kira called over to Fenella. "What type of tree is this? I haven't seen anything like it." Fenella trotted over and explained, "Oh, this is the fantastic, flavorful tree. Every fruit that grows on it tastes completely different. That's why each fruit is a different color, too." "Wow, that sounds so cool," Kira said. "Are we able to try one?" Fenella chuckled and replied, "Of course you can. The only thing is, I'm too small to reach the branches now. The tree has gotten too tall for me." Luckily, Koko could climb the tree. Koalas were notoriously good climbers, so it would be easy for him to grab everyone a piece of fruit. Koko wrapped his arms and legs around the trunk of the fantastic, flavorful tree and clambered his way upwards and into the leafy branches. He shuffled out onto a thick branch and called down to Kira and Fenella, "What colour fruit would you both like?" Kira called up that she would like a purple piece of fruit, and Fenella requested a pink one. Koko grabbed the coloured fruit as requested, and also picked a blue one for himself. "Look out below!" he shouted down as he dropped the 3 pieces of fruit into Kira's outstretched hands. Then he safely made his way back down the tree. "Mission accomplished," he announced, brushing his hands together. Kira passed Fenella her rosy pink fruit to try, passed Koko his blue snack, and then inspected her own selection. She was very keen to try the unusual fruit from this unique tree. She wondered what her purple piece would taste like. Fenella took the first bite and groaned with delight. It tastes of rose petals," she said as she chomped happily. Koko and Kira eagerly bit into their fruit and were pleasantly surprised by the tasty flavours that overwhelmed their taste buds. "Mine tastes like bubble gum," Koko said. "Mine tastes like grape juice," Kira added. "How funny that every piece of fruit tastes different." When he looked up from his fruit and at Kira, he was startled by something very unusual. Kira had somehow transformed colour. No doubt by magic, Kira's fur was now a shade of purple, very similar to the colour of the fruit she was consuming. "Kira, you're turning purple," Koko giggled. Kira looked back at Koko and began to giggle too. "And you are turning blue, Koko," she said. Koko glanced down at the fur on his arms, and just as Kira had said, his fur was indeed turning blue. By eating the fruit, they were both turning different colours. Fenella laughed and assured her friends that it was perfectly normal when eating from the fantastic, flavourful tree. Whoever bit into a piece of fruit from it would temporarily change colour. It was all a part of the magic. Koko and Kira giggled with amusement, but noticed that despite eating from the tree too, Fenella hadn't changed. "Why have you not changed colour?" Koko asked Fenella confusedly. "Because I have a pink piece of fruit, and my skin is already pink," she pointed out. "But don't worry, your new colour will wear off shortly. It doesn't last forever." Koko nodded and took another bite of his bubblegum-flavoured fruit. But Kira pouted disappointedly. She quite liked being purple. It was her favourite colour. The 3 of them finished their yummy portions of fruit, And just as Fenella had said, Koko and Kira's fur turned back to their original colours. Koko and Kira gazed around the enchanted garden and admired its beauty. They hadn't experienced so much magic in one place before. This garden was truly special, but there still was a question lingering in their minds. Fenella, can I ask you a question? Koko inquired. Why have we never come across your enchanted garden before? Kira and I have walked this route to school several times and never spotted your garden until now. Fenella considered whether to share her secret with the koala and his sister. Eventually, she decided that she might as well. Fenella looked around to check nobody could overhear before whispering, You haven't seen it before because the garden has a charm placed over it. I enlisted a fairy friend of mine to help. I wanted to keep this garden for myself as a place I could come to whenever I needed some alone time. So she cast a spell that would make the garden only visible to me. Kira was fascinated, but questioned, Then why can we see the garden now? Fenella shrugged and admitted she didn't know why. The enchantment cast by the fairy stated that the garden could only be seen by those who would truly appreciate it. Maybe the enchantment had decided that Koko and Kira were worthy of seeing through the spell and experiencing the garden too. Koko and Kira smiled. They were glad the fairy's charm had chosen them to enjoy the enchanted garden with Fenella. I hope you didn't mind sharing it with us today, Koko apologized. But Fenella assured him that she was overjoyed to have been able to show them around her garden. It filled her with a sense of pride, seeing other people enjoying her hard work and getting as excited about it as she did. Koko and Kira were welcome to join her in the enchanted garden any time they liked. The furry siblings were grateful for Fenella's hospitality. They would definitely love to return again in the future. Kira gazed at the sky and noticed that the sun was growing low behind the trees. They had best be heading home soon. However, before they did, Kira longed to lie down in the comfortable grass one more time. She lay down on the soft blades and stretched out her arms and legs like a starfish or a snow angel. She sighed contentedly. I might come back just to do this again, Kira confessed wistfully, and Fenella chuckled. Koko lay down by her side to see what all the fuss was about. He instantly could see why Kira loved it so much. The satin-like grass felt like silk sheets on a plush bed. He felt so relaxed that he couldn't help closing his eyes and sighing with satisfaction. Koko and Kira lay in the grass for a while longer, inhaling the scents of the garden and listening to the breeze flowing over them. They couldn't know for sure what made them feel so relaxed and safe here, but perhaps the pollen from the blue vervain flowers had drifted on the wind, filling their bodies with its sleep-inducing effects and lulling them towards a wonderfully deep slumber. Now we're floating into a deep and peaceful sleep. Feel how your muscles are relaxing. Your arms are heavy and your legs are too, as they loosen and release any tension remaining from the day. Feel how you let your body fall into the cozy warmth of your bed. Close your eyes. Let your eyelids be heavy. Breathe deeply. Breathe in and out. Breathe in and out as you continue to breathe deeply, and as you keep feeling how your body becomes soft and heavy with sleep. Let your mind drift away. That is the wonderful secret about sleep. While your body rests, lying heavily in your bed, your mind is set free, like a bird taking flight from a branch and flying up and up and up into the air. Feel how your mind loosens now, like a balloon that has been untied from a fence, and floats up and up and up like a bird. Up and up and up it floats towards the sky until it reaches up into the clouds. Imagine that you have risen up high above the world and your head has poked up through the clouds. Then spread out all around you in the silvery moonlight, white fluffy clouds that look like cotton wool or marshmallows. They look so soft and squishy. You can lie back on them and roll around in them. Try it now. Lie back in the soft cradle of the clouds. Feel how they swirl and wrap around your body, holding you gently in the world of sleep. Clouds come in all shapes and sizes. Some are big and fluffy, some are slender wisps. Some look like puffy mushrooms, and others look like paintbrush strokes that have been left on the dark sky. Let your body relax. Let your mind relax too. Let your mind float off into sleep. You are peaceful. You are safe. You are being held in the cozy warmth of sleep. With your eyes closed, let your mind drift up, up, up and away. In the world of dreams, you can go anywhere you like. You can float on blue oceans with ripples and tufts of waves. Or you can visit castles built in the sky with spiraling turrets and drawbridges over sparkling moats. Or you can wander into the peaceful woods where the birds are twittering and the trees are dense with dark green leaves. Breathe in and out. Breathe in and out again as you fall more deeply into your cozy sleep. And with your eyes still closed, take a look around with your mind at where your dreams have taken you. When I fall asleep, I dream that I've gone to a world high up in the clouds. Sometimes the clouds are dappled silver from the moonlight. Sometimes they're soft pink and gold, reflecting the light of the twinkling stars. What form do your dreams take? Where does your mind go when you fall asleep? Maybe in your dreams there are flocks of white fluffy sheep huddling together on the green fields. Look at the mother ewe yawn widely before she tucks her little lambs beneath her woolly fleece. Or maybe you dream of a friendly dragon, curled up with his tail wrapped around him, a little trail of clouds puffing out of his nostrils. Look, the cloud dragon is smiling at us and waving. What a friendly dragon he is. Or maybe you dream of cute puppies lying on their backs, their tongues lolling out of their mouths, their eyes closing because they've had such a long day. They look tired, and there's their papa dog, fluffy and white, padding softly over to wish the puppies good night. Up here on the sea of clouds, you can be free. Feel how light you are, weightless, floating, drifting through sleep. Feel everything heavy from the day lift off you and drift away, taken away by currents until they disappear over the bank of clouds. Any worries you have been having, watch them float away. Anything that has been weighing on your mind during the daytime, now you can let them go and watch them drift away. Your worries are not you. You are not your worries. You can let them go. Watch them float away. Now you are light as air. You are as gentle as starlight. You are as soft as the clouds. Up in the sleepy sky, everything is weightless and peaceful. The clouds stretch out like a sea of tranquility. Close your eyes and feel the clouds wrap around you. Feel them bearing your body gently into the land of sleep. Feel your eyes close. Feel them rest heavily as your body relaxes into sleep. Feel your mind lighten. Feel it loosen and drift away, light as a feather, soft as the clouds. Breathe in and out. Breathe in and out. The world of clouds is waiting for you. Let yourself fall into the clouds' soft, warm hug. They're here to protect you. They are here to cushion you. They are here to hold you as you enjoy your deep and peaceful sleep. Sleep well, little one. Sleep well in the land of clouds. Feel how light you are. Feel how weightless, floating, drifting through sleep, light as air, gentle as starlight, soft as clouds. Good night, little one.